Hey there, toy collector friends and Transformers fans alike. Welcome back to the channel. I am the Triple TC, that's the time traveling toy collector, and this is Transformers the Movie Studio Series 86, number 19. There we have number 19 down at the bottom, Studio Series, and it's Dinobot Snarl. So it's a Dinobot that actually retains his name, which is lovely, we like that. And we're just starting with a quick butchers at the box, and this is the fantastic artwork for Snarl. First of all, I'd just like to say a bit of an apology for the delay in coming back to doing Transformers stuff. I have been extremely busy with life away from the camera, this camera at least. Also in the throes of adopting a new family member. All of these things have been encroaching on the time it takes to put together some of these videos. So apologies for that. I am trying to get back on schedule. And I'm also aware that it's been quite a while since I've looked at any Transformers, so hopefully there'll be a few Transformers things popping up in the next few days that will be of some interest. So anyway, here we are, right here and now, with this wonderful flashback to 1986, well, and 85, and possibly even 84, with Dinobot Snarl, one of my favourite sublines within the Transformers anyway, especially back in my time, which was G1 time. And to see this box art is absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to spend too much time gandering around at the box, because whilst the box is lovely and is in and of itself a wonderful piece of work, the product shots, of course, appear on the back. We've all seen them, but you know, the product shots are great, but let's get on with the product, because that is why we are really here. And here we have Snarl, looking pretty snazzy, I must say. I've already laid him up on the included diorama, which is, I believe, the battle for Autobot City on Earth, where the Dinobots were deployed to stop Devastator. Just going to say it now, really hope we get a Studio Series 86 Devastator. The Constructicons in that set, with this quality of build. Wow, I'm really holding out for that. I did recently manage to track down a G1 version of Devastator, put it together, and I was laughing at myself, to be perfectly honest, because it's definitely a thing of its time, and I would love to see what a Studio Series 86 version and scale version of Devastator would look like, especially following on from the wonderful stuff they did with Menasor recently. That is, if you think it was wonderful. I do, but I can appreciate opinions will vary. So, enough chit-chat about that. Let's get this guy up and centre. And you know what? This is one of the things I love about the fact that they've gone to this sort of size scale for the Dinobots. They are big, they are beefy, they are huge. They're everything you want them to be. And you know, I talk a lot about nostalgia, and I talk a lot about the way our creativity and our imaginations are stimulated by the products that we had when we were growing up. And the Dinobots, for me, were really great, but they also didn't require a huge amount of additional kind of imagination, because they were really well done. And I think for the time, in terms of the Transformers, certainly, they had some of the best articulation going in those sort of figures. So again, we can take a quick look here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more just for the sake of it. So again, a beautiful head sculpt, some lovely blue in the eye there. The head is I mean, again, I won't go excessively around the levels of articulation, because by now I would think you are very aware of the levels of articulation we get with this quality of figure. That said, I'm also aware that you might not be familiar. That might be why you're watching this video. So we'll take a little stroll down the body. Now again, this section here in the original was the canopy that would allow you to place a Diaclone pilot inside the robot mode. But of course, these aren't Diaclone warriors, these are the Dinobot warriors, part of the Autobot. So we can see the detailing on here is fantastic. And I love that we finally got a Dinobot with a sword. Because they did, I think if I remember rightly, certainly in my memory, they all had swords. And we've been denied swords so far on the Dinobot front. But, you know, the detailing here is absolutely splendid. It really is lovely. Now, there's a couple of hollow bits due to the essential space for transformation. But let's come to the side. Let's look at these legs. Get them in there. You can see the quality there of the sculpt work. And, you know, no stickers applied here. They all come well, there's not really any stickers anyway. There's all sort of embedded. Now, again, look at this. Look at this. The quality here. Very absent from G1. And, you know, I think it really helps make this the figure it is. Yes, we can see the faux bits of Dinobot arms and feet and legs and what have you. But you know what? That's just the nature of the beast. It has got some ankle articulation. It's got waist. It's got all that you would expect it to have in and around the arms. So you've got shoulders. You've got bicep. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed at the elbow, if you can see that, because it just sort of cuts there. There's just like a very, not spindly by any means. I don't think you could classify them as particularly spindly figures, but it does sort of just ever so slightly break the illusion of how big and bulky he is, for me at least. But it's nothing I can't get over, because again, as I've said before, the nature of these, it's so cool, and to have him standing up against his compatriots is fantastic. And when we get Swoop, once we get Swoop in the range, at some point, who knows, hopefully in 2024, but whenever, I can wait. I suspect he's going to be really worth it. When we get Swoop, I'm also going to do like a cumulative video bringing all of the Dinobots together, possibly with their G1 counterparts, because I do still have all of those as well. Which I'm extremely grateful for. But yeah, so Snarl in his robot form, absolutely delightful. And now I'm going to change him up into his Stegosaurus form, which I need to tell you, I've not done yet. Anyone who's new to the channel, just so you know, I don't do the transformations in the video, just because I'm an amazing klutz. I used to be fantastic back when I was a lot younger. I was great. I remembered all the transformations. I could do all the transformations from scratch. Some of them I even did just by looking at the figures. These new ones are slightly more complex, which is great. And often I have degrees of anxiety, let's call it that, about whether or not I'm going to break the figure during transformation. And sometimes the air can get a little bit blue. So I tend not to do it as a tutorial. That's not my experience for here. There are other people who are very good at tutorials, so please go and watch them if you want a transformation tutorial. I will, however, transform him up and then make any observations about tricky bits, areas of concern or clearance that have driven me slightly mad. But otherwise, I worry that I'll keep you here for far longer than I need to. I know you're very busy. So I spare you the trauma that I will go through. But yeah, I'll feed that back to you shortly. In the meantime, whilst I'm doing that, just take a second, please, to like the video. And whilst you're down there liking the video, please also subscribe to the channel. It's a very small click for you, but it makes such a world of difference to this channel and trying to beat the bringer of chaos itself, the algorithm. And it would really help the channel if you can. I am striving towards getting to a new milestone figure, so if people can, that would be great. It's absolutely free. I don't offer a Patreon, so there's no money changing hands. It's purely the generosity of your spirit, and in the hope that you enjoy having a look at some of these figures and my thoughts surrounding them. Anyway, whilst you're subscribing and liking, I'll get to transforming, and I'll be with you no sooner than it takes to say, destroy Devastator. So that worked really well. Took me about 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes in total to make that transition. Here is Snarl, all transformed up into his Stegosaurus mode. Minor issue, which is not his issue per se, but of course with the diorama, the Autobot city battle, you can't really put the Dinobots, they don't really fit. There's a bit of a lag on the lip. So again, this display base, lovely though it is, probably better for robot mode. But what I will say is the transformation, fantastic. Let me get him up so you can see him. An absolutely joyous transformation, I have to say. A few other people have mentioned it about the differences in the gold paneling and the gold plastic here. It is a shame. It would have been nice if it was consistent, but by the same token, I don't think it looks too bad. I thought it was going to look worse, if I'm honest, from some of the comments that have been made online. I love the panel detailing along the tops and along the side. I mean, obviously some of it is the legs repositioned or the arms repositioned, but it really works in giving him a sense that, you know, had Snarl been reawakened back on Cybertron, he would have had an obvious Cybertronian form, because it just looks like a big tank. It just looks like a big tank that has been styled to look like a Stegosaurus. Got the Autobot logo there on his head. There's some wonderful contractions of his body mass as part of the transformation. I think the tail section looks really, really nice. And there's that lovely continuation of that particular gold. We could have lost some of that. Some of the gold paint on this section isn't great. It's on the red plastic. You can see that it's not 100% perfect. But again, you know, whether we admit it or not, it is designed to be a toy. So that'll always be the throwaway excuse. When it's a toy, you know, it's going to rub, it's going to do stuff. It's not designed to be a collectible, and then we can all shake our heads and say it's absolutely designed to be a collectible. Behave yourselves. But I think he's fantastic. Weapon storage, there's not really a lot in this mode. You can do something ridiculous. Actually, you can't. It won't fit. Probably just as well. It'll fit in there. But, you know, you could do that, but why would you? But otherwise, there's not really anywhere sensible to store it, unlike some of the other Dinobots. I did check. There's no visible head or face or anything syndrome underneath. It's all folded away really nicely. But I think, yeah, I think, again, it's very hard to get him in lined up with this backdrop. But I genuinely think, let me just move slightly, and then you can see him in all of his glory. I really do think this is, again, a really lovely take on a classic Transformers figure. And I've mentioned it before, I'm unapologetically looking forward to the arrival of Swoop. Apologies as I try and zoom appropriately for you, because I just think he's going to really make this team work. He really is. I think I mentioned, maybe I didn't, that we do have an opening mouth, and the head is fantastic because it does split in two parts. The technology and the paneling around, he's not a panel former by any stretch of the imagination really, but the transformation around the legs is of course again very impressive, as we've seen in previous Dinobots and other Studio Series 86 and other other Transformer figures. But I really, really like him. I really struggle to decide, you know, which is my favourite Dinobot, because I love them all. They were my in to the Transformers, you know. That's just how that was. Starting with Grimlock, then I think it was Sludge, and then it was either Snarl or Slag, as he's really called. Before and of course in the UK we never had Swoop, but I managed to purchase a Swoop in the days before we had tremendous knockoff third parties springing up all over the place. I managed to get a Swoop on eBay back when there was only original second-hand toys to buy in that market. How things have changed, but I managed to get a Swoop, and I was so pleased and excited to get one. It was probably woeful to see a grown man behave in such a way, but I was really happy, and I don't care. But yeah, I have to say, Snarl, again, knocking it out of the park as a Transformer, as a Dinobot, and as part of the Studio Series 86 line. Have you been able to collect all of the Dinobots so far? What do you think of them? I personally love it. I think they're the highlight of the 86 line. I'm sure we'll see other fantastic things emerge. I know that there's obviously we've got some other wonderful figures out there already, such as Ultra Magnus, etc., which I will get round to, I promise. Along with some of the other ones that I've not had a chance to do yet. So again, apologies if some of the videos are published out of numerical order, but then to be fair, Hasbro did release them out of numerical order, so we're all playing the same game. So do I think that Snarl deserves a spot on your shelf? Well, frankly, yes. I think all the Dinobots deserve a space on your shelf. They certainly warrant one on my shelf, and I'm delighted to have them. I think they're absolutely beautiful. The transformation wasn't overly complex. There were lots of elements that were reminiscent of G1 Snarl, which for me was absolutely blissful. To the point, and I don't usually boast about these things. I hope it's not a boast. I don't mean it to be, but I actually managed. I gave up looking at the instructions once I was over halfway through. I mean, to be fair, I was over halfway through. I get it, okay, but the rest from the moment I reached a certain point, it was easy peasy putting Snarl together into the remainder of his Stegosaurus mode, because it was so similar to what went before, and also it was very intuitive. I do find once you get into the flow of it, there's quite a bit of intuitiveness that will allow you to transform these wonderful figures. Yeah, I just from he's a bit squat, but you know what, he was, and I just think it's a wonderful revisitation of a classic figure. And I'm here for it. I think it's an absolutely wonderful entry into the range. And as I say, I look forward to Swoop joining them, and I also look forward to what else Transformers Studio Series 86 has in store. Because I'm just so enamored. If I collected nothing else around Transformers and just Studio Series 86, I'd be a happy collector. I can tell you that with my hand firmly on my heart. Anyway, I've held you up from your lives for far too long. Thank you very much for giving over the last 20 minutes or so of your time to watch this. Again, just a reminder that if you could like the video, that would be great. If you could subscribe to the channel, you can turn notifications on, or you can not turn them on. But if you're a fan of things like Transformers toys, or Doctor Who toys, or models, or, you know, sort of physical media around the very specific types of collectible franchises, or Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that, then by all means have a little look around the channel. You may well see something or some things that absolutely ignite your fire in the way that they ignite mine, because, you know, I do find collecting a very therapeutic thing more often than not. More on that in a future video, but more often than not, it's a therapeutic thing. And I really enjoy spending some time with you, looking at some of these toys and having a view on what we think about them. But whether you want to play with them or collect them, they are, in my opinion, fantastic. So thank you again. If you are looking forward to Swoop, do let me, or a future Transformers Studio Series 86 figure, do let me know in the comments which ones they are and why you're particularly looking forward to them. For me, it's mostly nostalgia based, but not entirely, because I didn't have the entire range. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've got to say on that, or drop me messages on Instagram as well. Some people prefer to do that, and that's great too. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. I've been the Time Travelling Toy Collector. You have been a fantastic viewer, and this has been the Studio Series 86, number 19, Dinobot Snarl, as he appeared in the Transformers animated movie from 1986, produced by Takara Tomy and Hasbro. And this is the Time Travelling Toy Collector, reminding you that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care, and I'll see you in the future.